Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Salt Stage here at BoatLife. I am very pumped to be welcoming Matt Crowhurst.
Hello, Mark.
Crowy to his mates, the madman of wakeboarding, I think.
There perhaps was a time, maybe a little less so now, as a couple of wakeboarders in the background just laugh at that.
So you're driving the PowerPoint. I think we're going to go a little bit of history.
We could do.
Where have you come from? So this is exact. I mean, we've got wakeboarding, DJing, comparing, motorsports, DJ. I mean, come on. There's nothing you don't do.
Well, I mean, from you saying DJ to me, that's a little bit of a peeve tape because you're a rather good DJ and I just play at it. But jack of all trades, as the
and where did it all start?
The saying
what
goes.
Was the 12-year-old Matt Crowhurst doing?
12-year-old
on your BMX,
I mean,
on your
that
skateboard?
wasn't that long ago, obviously. We'll go back to 15-year-old Matt Crowhurst, which is all shoulder blades and limbs. That is the year I started wakeboarding.
Okay.
So the reason I picked out that photo is, we used to do tricks on that boat. So.
And where in the world are we here?
This is. It looks exotic, but that's Nottingham.
Nottingham.
Well, Nottingham.
Okay.
Well, Derby to be more exact, more precise. And so the reason I pick out this photo is because that is the year I started, and leading up to me to this point, I was a water skier from the age of 5, like tournament water skiing. So for those of you out there, the slalom, the trick skiing, and the jump skiing, I'd done it from a very early age. Break the ice through the winter, learning, and then my friends, one of which is that tan chap right there in the yellow shorts, Paul Price, and a couple of brothers. They were really, really good water skiers. He was actually a world champion. And then that year, we all swapped to wakeboarding, or the boys had started a little bit sooner. And I went up to my friend's water ski school just north of Newcastle to do some water ski training at the start of the year. And I came back with a wakeboard. Had to break it to my mum that summer that I was giving up on that which she'd invested a good 10 years of her life into to start this wakeboarding thing, which she had no idea about. And I didn't look back.
That's when it all happens. I mean, wakeboarding was what came in.
Well, so a brief potted history of wakeboarding is that it started in the form of scurfing, so small surfboards on boats or going out and tearing up behind boats when there are no waves, and then it became a wakeboard, which was what you see there. That sort of style wakeboard came about a couple of years before that. This is 96. Yeah, 96. It had been around a couple of years, but in that form, been around a while, but in that form a couple of years, and it had just taken hold in Europe in a little way, and I started that year after a couple of years of it being around, and basically I gave up water skiing, started wakeboarding, and then within a month of that, I was in a 3-door Fiesta with that guy and a couple of 2 other guys traveling to Austria for my first wakeboarding competition, and this was part of that tour, the European wakeboard tour. And at 15, I have no idea why my mom let me jump into a car with a couple of 18-year-olds and a 20-year-old to just go off to Austria to go wakeboarding, but she did, and I spent a year touring, and that was the one stop in the UK, and that was the first start of hitting features. That carpeted ramp that's my brother there actually, squeezing fairy liquid on to see if it will slide off. And the other reason this is good is because that's a water ski boat, not a wakeboard boat. So you've got these beautiful wakeboard boats here dotted around us, these massive behemoth of things. That was a ski boat, tiny wake. We had a pylon stuck on there to get you a little bit more height. A couple of Swiss guys there helping me out make this budget ramp. It was. I know it sounds old school and old of me to say, but it was a fun time. You'll also notice no life jacket there at all, just a rash vest. That's a no-no if you're water skiing or wakeboarding. Wear a life jacket, please, people. But we were young and stupid, and it was cool.
And where did you go from here?
I'm glad you reminded me. I got lost. And that, no life jacket again. So this is 99, and the reason I picked this photo is because they just used to throw stuff at us in terms of sponsorship back then. And I managed to blag a car off Skoda. And this is while I was still at school. I turned up with that thing at school with and I sound an idiot to say it, with my name and a picture of me wakeboarding on the side of that vehicle turning up to school in that thing. And it was a good time. So water skiing for years and years, didn't get given a thing. Within a couple of years of wakeboarding, and I boards and clothing.
And Matt, I see here, to see more of Matt in action, check out the July issue of GQ magazine.
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
I forgot about that. I unfortunately don't have that up there. It wasn't anything exotic. Obviously, it shouldn't be at the age of 17, which was that. Yeah. So the mid late 90s were the salad days of wakeboarding in terms of it being the cool thing. And I mean, it's always been the salad days. It's an amazing world that we live in. But then it was a turnaround, and within that year that I took up wakeboarding back in '96, where my mum had just pumped so much money into water skiing, and it was a hard slog. And then within a year, I got supported by O'Neill with a bit of money and had a board sponsor, and then she finally realised, oh, I kind of made the right deal after all this. And it was a very, very fun time to be in the sport. And then that's jumping forward to the year I met my now wife. That's what bagged her. High five Rayleighs over the top of her, I guess.
That'll do it, always. I know I'm partial.
And this is a little bit further along, a few years ago out at Nielsen, the holiday resort, flipping. And so that's a very, very potted history of my time in wakeboarding. There's lots of bits in between, but that's kind of a good starting place, I guess.
So were you always in love with the actual action of it, or the whole...
Or just getting photographed in the scene?
The scene,
There's a lot of people who would argue one or the other for me. So water skiing is an amazing sport. If anybody out there has done any towable water sport behind a boat, whatever it is, whether you're on a Ringo, whether you're kneeboarding, whether you're water skiing, whether you're wakeboarding, or now we've got the technology, these boats to wake surf and foiling, it's all amazing. So you just got to give it a go. From the get-go, I love wakeboarding. So I could flip on a trick ski. I could jump 45 meters on a pair of skis. I could slalom at sort of 36 miles an hour. So the speed and the tricks and the skills are there, but it's very linear. It's very objective. Go this distance, do this trick, score these points, go around these buoys at this speed. Whereas wakeboarding is, as all action sports, is kind of do what you want. Go out there and do what you want. And yeah, there are parts of the sport that is, well, this is cool and that's not cool, and you get that in any sport that is subjective, that you can take in your own direction. But there's freedom there, and I loved it, and I took to it quite well. And yes, the fact that I got sponsored early on, and the fact that there were people actually interested in watching and taking photos and video, yes, that all came part of it. But yeah, the sport, just cruising around on a board on water, there's nothing quite like it.
And for people here at the show and watching this presentation, is that still the model now, that you get out there, show some raw talent? And what's the model for, say, my 16-year-old son wanting to get into it?
It is very difficult. Now, it is very difficult. It's very difficult because, and I think that it's the same pathway, the same curve with any of the action sports. It was the cool. Brands wanted to be a part of it, and so they were willing to give stuff away. And I was sort of got there at the right time to make a living out of wakeboarding. Now it's, if anybody, there they are smiling again. Sorry, Lex here and Seb, they kind of get the deal because they wakeboard themselves and involved in the industry. For a kid to say to me, I want to be a pro wakeboarder, I'd be like, great, you should go for it. You should try and be the best wakeboarder you can. And it's the same with your sport as well, sailing. Like now, there would have been a time when it was easier to get support, and now it's more difficult. And there's that many more people doing it. And we're past the point of it being the new cool. Wake surfing is the thing. If you want to be a pro rider, wake surfing is the thing. That's not easy. You need a quite expensive boat to get good at. But it's not easy to make a living. There are ways in which you can make a living in and around the sport, which is kind of what I did. I was lucky to make a little bit of living out of just riding, but then I combined that with coaching, with working with brands, with hosting events, doing stuff on the microphone. So it was never just the riding.
Yeah.
You can be involved in the sport and have an incredible life in lots of ways, all throwing into the pot, while still enabling you to take to the water. And that's what I'd say to anybody in any action sport. Do what you can to carry on doing that sport, which was you, wasn't it? Sofa surfing when you started and that sort of thing, which is what it was for me. It wasn't ever making tons of money. It was affording a really amazing lifestyle, which has led on to other incredible things.
Take us on to the next.
Take us on. I can't even remember what the next one is.
Oh, video.
A video.
Great.
This is good. I don't know whether Lex will remember this. So I always used to do stupid things on a wakeboard because my skill wasn't quite there. I don't know whether you could guess what's about to happen with this. I thought I could definitely clear that. I didn't clear it. I thought, well, now I've taken the top off it, I'll definitely clear it. So this was a video shoot. This is a place in Spain. And at that point, oh no, we get an onboard view as well. So this is a wakeboard school. Yeah, so I kind of did stupid stuff like that. But just to back up the fact that I can actually ride a wakeboard, it's still shameless me clicking to this. This is actually my lake down in Chichester where I live. And this is what wakeboarding affords you. You end up getting to work with cool brands, and this is an electro stim brand which tries to keep my ailing body in one piece. This is what boat wakeboarding actually is, to a greater or less degree, if you've not seen it before, once we get past me working out.
And this is a tow, as in a...
So, yeah. So this is behind a wakeboard boat.
Yeah.
The brands that I work with, Nautique on a tower with a nice big fat meaty wake. And the whole idea with wakeboarding is that the boats, instead of planing, which is the idea behind motorboats, we try and sink them even deeper in the water to displace more water, to make a bigger wake, to jack that wake up even more. We have ballast tanks in the boats to load them with water to sink them lower. We even have different gadgetry on the hull of the boat that comes out to shape the wake as well. I think that's the end of the riding. Just more salesmanship. Great fun, those electro stim kits, when you're playing around with them with your mates, which is not what they're meant for.
And I see you've got an insane sort of balance there. I mean, you know, on those wobble boards, and so are you naturally good balance?
I guess so. So
is it something you train for?
Sport is my thing since I was little. It was always rugby and water skiing and wakeboarding and snowboarding and playing around. Not amazingly, but playing around on wheels, on boards and whatnot as well. So yeah, balance is very much part of it. It's crazy with wakeboarding is very different to other action sports. Is that you have two different torsional forces. You have the action of you on the board, but the action of you on this rope that's pulling you on, like windsurfing and kite surfing, and sailing as well. You've got this happening as well as this, your connection with that thing that you're on, the water as well. So there's a lot going on, and anybody who wakeboards, who is really, really healthy and really, really fit, if they wakeboard for the first time, they will be sore the next day because it finds muscles that you didn't know you had. So this is so with wakeboarding, there are a whole bunch of elements to it. You've heard me mention wake surfing. Wakeboarding is the attached variety, but we have the skateboarding variety, which is this. So it's like a big skateboard, grip tape on the top of it, and you just ride it in trainers, and you can do skateboard-style tricks. So that's been around. Well, wakeboarding took the form in its early days of people standing on surfboards. So in its essence, this has been part of the sport for quite a long time, but they just fine-tuned it as far back as 96, 97. They started chopping down wakeboards, putting grip tape on them, and doing ridiculous things, like crazy, crazy things, skateboard-style tricks on these huge shin-breaking planks of wood that they can do on the water as well at 23 miles an hour. And so I took to that, and I took to it because, like all wakeboarders, I blew my knee quite early on in 99, and the way to get back into the sport was to take it easy and cruising around wake surfing.
Not be attached to something.
Not being attached meant you a little bit more free, a little less torsional force through the knee, and you can see chunky knee brace on right there, trying to hold. It was an ACL. Everyone knows board sports, you blow your ACL. And so that was my second knee operation at the age of 19. And wake skating, a lot of fun, and it took off. That's at a cable lake, so slightly different to boat riding. You can see the pulleys, the towers. So if any of you haven't heard of cable wakeboarding, water skiing, it's an overhead pulley system. And you've got 4 towers, 5 towers, and you have lines attached to that tower, and you have multiple people towing you around at once, and that's cable system, which is also a lot of fun. There'll be more of it in that. And also combined with that, you can see I'm on an obstacle, just like a skate park. And that's a big part of wakeboarding, wake skating now as well. And this is something quite different again. So back in, I'm trying to think when we first got, basically this is on a winch. Don't know whether you recognize. This is Camden Lock on the left.
I was going to say it looks very urban.
It's very, very urban. So no boat, no jet ski, no cable system, a winch, which is basically a lawnmower engine winding a rope in around a reel. And we go places that you wouldn't be able to go otherwise unless you had this winch, and in often cases, places that you shouldn't go. And I've been kicked off this particular place a number of times by the Community Support Fun Police. This other one is underneath the M25 in Chertsey. A lot of diseases to be caught underneath there. But the reason behind the winching was just to do something very, very different with wakeboarding, going to cool spots, and it involved oftentimes hitting natural, we say natural, it's not natural obviously, but natural features that are just there in the urban environment. So this is me jumping from one lock to another.
This is wakeboarding parkour.
Well, yeah, wakeboarding, street style wakeboarding, if you want to call it. It's an awful lot of effort. You need a whole team behind you, and every time you finish, you have to pull the handle back out. You're often riding in gnarly places where there's not much water. And of course, you compare it, if I've got any skateboarders out there or BMXers, if I use the word gnarly with wakeboarding compared to what they do, it's not really. But we end up in places where you can brain yourself, you can come away with venereal disease of some description in the water. But it's a lot of fun, it's something different, and it's usually just for the photo, for the video, as opposed to go and do it to rack up your time on the water. But it is a lot of fun when it goes right. It's painful when it goes wrong. This is Birmingham, my hometown, and probably glad there's not volume here because there'll be some swearing at some point. So I got kicked off on various canals around Birmingham, more waterways than Venice, which is why it's a great place to go winching. And this was the double drop. People in their offices, just distracting them. And now, if we had the volume on, you'd hear a ting as I hit that upright right there. And that's you see the winch in there in the corner as well, which weighs a ton. And then my mates there just screaming and swearing as I nearly brained myself on that upright of that bridge.
Were you okay?
Yeah.
No
managed to get the board in the way.
No Crowhursts were damaged in this?
No, I mean, it happens a lot.
Wow.
Now, here's another good story. Lex, did you ever hear the story about me and this thing going the opposite way? So that is a Volkswagen Beetle floating in the middle of a lake, and this is the same cable park called a place called JB Skeelthorpe Park. Just if you head into London on the M3, you see it on the left, right next to the theme park, Thorpe Park. And this is a silly piece of kit. Not much fun can be had. Well, you can, and it was fun. And once we had a boat competition, and we decided to take it off the cable and float it on the boat lake. It was at the Nationals. And what I lacked for in skill and ability, I made up for in quantity or doing stupid things. And you can see there's a gap there. And you can see this is a ride-on. This comes out of the water. So it's meant to only be hit in this direction. And in this boat competition, traveling at 23 miles an hour, a lot slower than cable, I decided to try and hit it from the other direction. It didn't work. It didn't work.
Because you hit that lip there.
Yeah, my board ended up under there, like everybody predicted it would. I somehow managed to come away unscathed. And unscathed, I wonder if you can consider, Lex, why this is a poignant photo for me. So this trick on the left is called a hoochie glide. Lots of weird names for tricks in wakeboarding. Now, this is my favorite trick. It's a lot of fun.
Your arm is being pulled off your...
Yeah, if you know the issues...
I can imagine.
So I can't do that trick anymore because I had a very dislocated shoulder for 3 years, and I now have a metal shoulder. And so I look at that with a tear in my eye because that was my favorite staple trick, which I'm now no longer able to do because don't think it'll handle it. But that's a good example of the weirdness that we find on the water, the things that we do to have even more fun other than just riding around on the surface of the water. Much like skate parks, much like snowboarding and snow parks, launching ourselves skyward, and the things that riders, not me, we've got a double world champion, Liam Peacock, here today in cable riding. The things he can do on cable are quite ridiculous.
Can I ask a question just while we've got this thrill-seeking, crazy shot? a lot of parts of our world, including DJing and all sorts of things, are getting more and more involved with health and safety. We do love health and safety because it keeps people safe. But have you noticed? Are you
insurance for wake
insurance?
Park, just because insurers are GJW. Please come on board with wakeboarding, water skiing, and a little bit more of a thorough way wherever you are. So they've been involved in our sport a long time. I'm not sure with cable parks, with the boat side of thing, quite obviously. But actually, yeah, there are injuries, but no more than you would get on Sunday league football.
But like all the riders that we see in GT and arena sport, you know, everything is
very different.
Everything is very well thought out. The science, the physics. I guess you know, as professionals, you do a lot of that. But again, there's just a lot of gun ho. Yeah?
I mean, back in the day, like the previous clip with that Volkswagen Beetle floating on a lake. No, obviously, we would never put that on a lake for a publicly consumed sport anymore. Yeah. And even this particular feature, which was at a cable up in Sheffield, we wouldn't build that sort of stuff anymore. It's ridiculously safe, other than the partaking in a sport that is a little bit more dangerous than playing catch.
This shot is just freaking me out, of the idea that there can be more than one Matt Crowhurst.
I know, imagine the thought. Yeah.
But
so yes. With wakeboarding, people think, wow, that's quite a gnarly sport to get into. Out of all of the action sports, out of every single one of them, bar none, wakeboarding is the most easily accessible, the most instantly enjoyable sport. Because if you think skateboarding, so no one's ever skateboarded. To get someone up and cruising along on a skateboard, it's quite difficult. And there's concrete. Snowboarding, well, there's only so many places you can go snowboarding with actual snow. It's really difficult. Surfing, obviously, difficult. Kite surfing, windsurfing, and these are all sports that I absolutely love, by the way, all quite difficult to get going. Wakeboarding, and I'll show you the form in which it takes place, the easiest in this country, which is really grown. Wakeboarding, you can have no previous sporting proclivity of this nature whatsoever. Within 15 minutes, you're up, cruising along the surface of the water on a wakeboard. It is the easiest sport to do out of all of these sports that are a little bit different. Of course, we talk mainstream sports, rugby, football, cricket. Yeah, of course, they're easy to play and get a hold of. But if you want something that little bit different, that's a bit out there, that is the most incredible experience for all the family, no matter the age, wakeboarding is the thing.
So, Matt, on that topic, let's just run the program here. This man is already in his shorts. He's ready to go wakeboarding.
You are set. Just
You're
take
set,
your shoes and socks off.
He's in his shorts. Yeah. Right. How much is a wakeboard?
So, well, let's talk about how much it would be to start.
Yeah.
Because you go to a park that people are British water ski and wakeboard trained, qualified, and that side is accredited, so you know everything is above board. It is going to cost you between 20 and 25,
really?
20 to 30 pounds to learn a brand new skill and have an amazing time.
Brilliant.
All in.
Brilliant. And then the next step is to buy a bit of kit.
Yeah.
But you probably don't need to buy a wakeboard for a while.
You wouldn't need to buy a wakeboard for a while because the school's either on boat. It's more expensive on boat, but it's an incredible experience on boat. It's a little less expensive on cable. It makes sense to start at a boat place with the right skills or at a cable that has a straight line cable, which I'll explain in a moment. And yeah, you don't need to buy stuff. And there's plenty of, top end of anything, you're going to spend through the nose. But to get you going, you could have a wakeboard set up, a wetsuit, a life jacket, a helmet if you're riding with obstacles. £500, all in.
So like you said, it's probably the most accessible sport in this show right now.
I mean, a skateboard, obviously, is far less expense. But if you're buying a decent skateboard and all the pads, then where do you go for tuition? You need someone to look after you, and it's not easy. That will take you years to get really good at. Wakeboarding, it's such a steep learning curve. Such a steep learning curve to have good fun easily. And we have all these parks around the country. You'll go places and you will see every generation. You'll see two kids, mum and dad, all on the water at exactly the same time, or all in the boat at exactly the same time, having the best time. And what we are struggling with at the moment is the understanding of the sport. You say wakeboarding, people don't get that to start with. You say boat, oh, that's got to be dangerous. That's got to be pollutive. There are more fishermen on boat lakes in this country than you'll find at any other lake because the boats aerate the water. But they moan about us, but then they get the best fishing on the lakes as well. And places like Windermere, where they said they'd never put a speed ban on those lakes, Windermere just died overnight because who were the people spending all the money at Windermere? It wasn't the walkers. Not that I have anything against walkers, but it was all the boat users. And so there needs to be a slight change in the way these things are viewed. Of course, we have to look after the environment. Of course, we have to take care of safety. But there's a slight misunderstanding amongst authorities and health and safety executives and councils about what we are and what we bring to local communities.
Do you have a national federation?
So British Water Ski and Wakeboarding is our governing body, and they do a lot behind the scenes to continue to push us into the areas where we need to be pushed and grow the sport. And yeah, we just want more people doing it. The moment you try it, you're hooked. And there isn't another sport like that. There isn't another sport that you can be up and cruising along the surface of the water at 18, 19 miles an hour, having the time of your life, where you're instantly hooked. There isn't another action sport like that where it happens that quickly.
Is there a group here at the show you know of that you can sign up and get going with?
Oh, in terms of, well, we have, I know H2O Sports here. They operate out of a lake up in the North Midlands, South area, Lincolnshire area, I think. And any of the guys who have wakeboard paraphernalia or wakeboard boats, the guys at Super and Moomba, who are based down in the southwest, H2O Sports here, talk to them. Anywhere where you see a wakeboard or a wakeboard boat, go chat to them.
Brilliant, brilliant. Let's go.
Or come chat to me.
Yeah.
So this is just some more cable action. This is a place in Cambridgeshire called Hannams. Hang on. I skipped a bit aggressively then. Now, where's John Boy? So our photographer is floating around. This is the very first photo he ever took of me. So I mentioned these other types of cables. Now, I know we're at a boat show, but we're all about just getting you out on the water in any form. That's why I'm here.
Absolutely.
Anyway. This is a straight line cable. So a cable that just goes up and down in one direction with two towers, one at each end, one rider at a time. This is in the docks in Liverpool. Unfortunately, it's no longer there because they upped the rent something ridiculously. But this is at the docks, and you can see how close you can get to the action. And it's silent in case you're concerned about the disturbance to local communities. They're just the easiest, most best way of getting on the water. And along with the boats now, are so much more environmentally friendly. There are even electric boats out there. It's a shameless plug for Nautique, and I apologize to the other boat brands, but Nautique actually do an electric wakeboard boat now as well. But this is what's taken the country by storm in terms of action. And this was in Liverpool docks.
That's the Liver building back there.
Yeah, Liver building.
Yeah.
The other docks is going to be a video coming up. And this was a tour that went around the country that allows us to put the sport in places where the sport just couldn't be otherwise, and erecting silly obstacles that get in our way right there. Yeah, that one's caused me a cropper a couple of times as well, that particular thing. And this was in the Albert Docks, you know, where, what's his name on This Morning used to jump around the map. That's where we had a huge event called Harbour Reach. How do we get the check? Click again to make that play. And we had tall ships in the middle of that where we were bonking, which we weren't supposed to, over the mast, barrels and whatnot. Now, obviously, this is, I say top end advisedly. I know that's me riding, but I mean these sort of events are the top end of riding. And it could be thinking, if you wanted to get into the sport, that's a bit much, but this is the fun that we can have with it, that brings the sport to the people. And now we move on to...
It's wake surfing, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're wondering how I'm moving along there. This is from one of these wakeboard boats that you see. This is the big call in wakeboarding in the sport at the moment, is wake surfing. So like surfing, but the wakes that these boats produce are big enough for you to be able to let go of the handle once you're up and surf for days. Interesting fact, actually, the first form of wake surfing, 1969, in a really amazing surf film called Endless Summer. Huge, big longboard, just out on an outboard engine boat. Wake surfing has been around. Wake surfing is where it actually started.
That's a great film.
It's a great film. And so wake surfing has been around in its original form for a long time. And even though we'd love it if we all had enough money to buy one of these boats, you don't need one of these boats to have a go at wake surfing. You can load up a smaller boat with a lot of people. You just sink the back of the boat a little bit more. You have a bigger board. There are actually things that you can sucker onto the side of boats that help shape the wake. So it is accessible to more people than you would think. Obviously, I'm name dropping here now. I was in Monaco at the Monaco Boat Show, hence this in the background. Super yachts, they like their wake surf boats. It's all very shameless, I'm afraid. More wake surfing. This is out in Nielsen. Great place to get your wakeboarding and wake surfing in out there.
I was waiting to see if a foil had come.
Yeah, the impaling devices. So the big call in water sports at the moment is foiling. If you've ever been on one of those catamarans that come up out of the water, those hydrofoil catamarans that go from Portsmouth to same technology. It's basically a wing that flies under the water. And once you get going, it picks you up, just like a wing picks you up in air. The original form of these were called air chairs. Horrific things. You used to sit strapped into a chair with your feet strapped in on a mini board with a great big leaden metal thing sticking out the bottom. They're really, really difficult to get into, but they've been around since the 70s. I found photos and footage of the ski world, if you know the water skiing and the ski world guys out in Florida, of them doing this on knee boards, a foil on the bottom of a knee board or a foil on a pair of skis. So it's been around a long time, but it's in the past 5 years or so that it's really exploded across all water sports. So surfing, kite surfing, windsurfing. Yeah,
Formula One. I mean, the America's Cup's now foiling.
Sailing, the America's Cup. Yeah. It's incredible, and very much so in towable foiling as well. As you can see here, that's me just launching out the water without a wake. It's a lot of fun. It is quite tricky. It's not the thing that you'd start with if you'd never wakeboarded before. But if you are interested in foiling with your windsurfing or your kite surfing or your surfing, I'd always recommend trying it behind a boat first. Because that could happen. You end up diving over a great big impaling device, which isn't always pleasant, but at least with a nice backdrop of Monaco.
Fantastic. Oh, I recognize those children.
A little while ago now, yeah. So,
that's a baby crow.
Baby Crowhurst, 2 of them. Going wakeboarding whether they like it or not. Luckily, they do now like it. There was some slightly forceful parenting in the early years, but I promise you, they do now like it. I promise you. So this was a while ago, but so the reason I put it in there is
that's a great shot, Matt.
To show off the kids, obviously, and
also the fact that
now I go wakeboarding with them because I can't do all the tricks that I used to do, and that's equally as
fun
impressive.
for all the family. Look at that.
Since I started wakeboarding, coaching was my thing. So from 2000, literally the first year I started riding, I started coaching, and that made up a big part of my life. And then that still is what keeps me involved in the water, apart from riding, in amongst the aches and pains, and then these two. And also to point out, it's the best thing that you can get your kids to do. If you can, there is a price involved, of course there is, but it's the price of a harvester meal out to get your kids doing this. And there's plenty of places that you can get it done right across the country in a really easy way on those straight line cables that I mentioned earlier. If you get the opportunity to go out on a boat, that's incredible too, or to a place like Nielsen. They do all of this. There's places like Mark Warner Holidays as well. If you get the chance to do it, it's the best life, and it's given me an incredible life in every sense. I get to sit here chatting to Olympians like yourself.
Now, Matt, I have to ask you, all the talks we've done, we do touch on the environmental side, the sustainability side. We're in a changing world. Here at BoatLife, we want to recognize the change. We want to make people aware that our industry, we use fuel, we use glass fiber, we use carbon, lots of petrochemicals, but we want to be kind to our environment. Do you see a change? You mentioned electric boats, you mentioned cable.
Well, I mean, we have most of the boat schools in the UK, they run on LPG.
Right.
So instead of petrol, it's the only way we can afford to run boat schools in the country because filling up with fuel, but that's much more environmentally friendly than fuel, of course. And weirdly, that's also the understanding involved from the authorities that are giving us permission, because they suddenly get panicky about us using LPG, obviously because it's flammable, but it can be very controllable and it's much better for the environment, and makes much more sense to have a boat on the water on LPG than with petrol on every conceivable front. So we've been ahead of the curve on that front for a long time, but you can't get around the fact that every beautiful water vehicle here has a big impact on the environment. So the engines that we use in wakeboard boats now are so much cleaner, so much more efficient, not pumping out the fumes. And that would be the case for a lot of the vehicles here, water vehicles here, I would imagine. You can't get around the fact that cable, it is the way that the sport is going to grow most, but hopefully that will feed into the boat. Boat will always be there, we hope, but cable is the way that we will grow the sport in this country massively, give more people from a wider scope the opportunity to get involved with this amazing sport, and then hopefully they will have the opportunity to partake in the boat side of things, which is at my core for sure. I love cable riding and all the other elements of all of these different sports that go on here, just as long as you're on the water, right? Just as long as we're part of the water. Because there's the other big thing, is the big thing at the moment is blue health, right? Is that the point? Just being near water in any conceivable way is good for you. In the water, better. Salt water, most definitely, because that's where we come from. But get near and in and around any water with other people experiencing that in an enjoyable, healthy, invigorating, sometimes slightly risky way, because that gets the blood pumping too, or at least for me. There's nothing like it. But I'm assuming everybody here has got that kind of vibe, because we're at a boat show, of course. But if you're more on the water than in it, get in it sometimes. Take a dunk.
Now, I'm assuming we're drawing to the end of your slides here. If we've got...
I remember.
Yeah, we go.
Other than showing off what I do again, yeah.
So this slide's perfect for my next question. Where can we see you? Where can we see you perform? Where we can see you compare? What are the gigs to look out for in 2023?
Yeah, that was shamelessly awesome as well. Thank you, Mark. So myself and a couple of the crew who are filming here, we're part of a motocross series called Arena Cross, which was actually here 2 weeks ago at the Resorts World Arena. It's a huge indoor motocross racing series, freestyle motocross, and I'm one of the two hosts for that event. I do the Goodwood Festival of Speed, and I do lots of events as well as wakeboarding events up and down the country while still playing around in different sports, injuring myself or trying not to. In terms of wakeboarding, if you guys want to find out more, British Water Ski and Wakeboard for sure. Just dial me in on the old Instagram and the Facebook and whatnot, and say hello, and I'll point you in the right direction of wherever I can get you to get out in the water, whether it's with me or whether it's with Liam, who's here, or whether it's with Lex, who's hovering at the back. We just want to get you on the water, so please say hello. Welcome and say hello to me now. I'll hover around here for a little bit.
Brilliant. Well, Matt, the madman of wakeboarding, compare. You're an immensely inspirational man to meet.
Thank you very kind.
Matt, thank you very much. You're going to be around for the rest of the day. Do come and have a chat to Matt, and thank you very much for coming up onto the Salt stage.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers,
Always
mate.
a pleasure, Mark.
Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure. Thank you.